I'm going to introduce something here, if I may, and that's the Ringelmann effect. Because Max Ringelmann was a French agricultural engineer back in 1890s or something. I don't know exactly the date. Don't hold me to that. And he noticed that as the size of a team increased, so the amount of effort that each team member put in reduced.
The tug of war.
So he did the tug of war, and there's one person each side, and I think the numbers was 63 kilograms of force was applied by each party. Then he did the experiment with 2 people, and then ultimately did the experiment with 8 people each side. And what he noticed is that rather than 63 kilograms of load being applied by each person, 31 kilograms of load was applied by each person.
Halved by the time you got to 8 people.
Halved.
So it wasn't 8 times 63, it was 8 times 31.
Yeah. Okay. So what he noticed, exactly correct, Julian. So what he noticed then, what he postulated was there was 2 things at work here. One was an element of coordination, because you had to coordinate the team together.
Because you're pulling little jerky pulls probably, and not exactly at the same time.
Exactly,
perhaps.
and that was a factor in it. And the other factor in it was a factor of self-expression. The individuals had lost their self-expression in the team. So they weren't prepared really to put as much effort in. So, I remember being part of an orchestra when I was in a nipper. I was a dreadful player of the violin, hopelessly bad. But I could get away with it in an orchestra, because you only had to go, silence, that was your bit. And I could be part of this huge orchestra, totally rubbish.
A friend of mine used to pretend to play the trombone. Yes. He used to go like that, and he wasn't actually even blowing.
That's right. It didn't matter.
It had to be in the marching band for the army cadets. He had to do it, or he did it to get out of sport or something. Yeah. But he couldn't actually play the trombone at all.
Yeah. So there's an example where you can get away with it in the group, but the minute the group size reduces, and you're on stage by yourself, then you're the super trooper is on you. Yeah.
So they call that social loafing.
They do. Yeah.
And so some people deliberately think, I can get away with this, I can game the system and do nothing and get away with it, or do very little and get away with it. And other people perhaps are just subconsciously not putting quite as much effort in, because deep down they kind of know that it doesn't matter so much. They're not as motivated to really try and put their all into it.
Or it might be because the specialist bit they know most about isn't here yet.
Yeah.
So they're sort of waiting. They're sort of coasting along the normal bit.
And I was thinking,
when's the sax bit? Would say. When do I get my go?
Yeah. I'm playing the drums with rubbish.
Well, you get a toot at the end, Chris.
Yeah, a toot at the end.
And I was also thinking that with the tug of war, that if everybody's a bit taller than me, it's a bit too high up for me to really pull at my best.
Yeah.
Or the angle of the people, the bloke in front's leaning towards me a bit, and so I can't really get the right pulling angle. And so,
it's not your fault.
Yeah, so but the coordinating, it makes it difficult. Whereas if I'm on my own, just doing it my way, I can do it the most efficient way for me.